सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। चैतन्यं सर्वगं सर्वं सर्वभूतगुहाशयं यत्सर्वविषयातीतं तस्मै सर्वविदे नमः। So from the verse 51, the author has started Nirguna Purusha Mata Prakriyam Nirakritya. The Sankhya Prakriya, which is Nirguna Purusha, where Sankhyas say Purusha is Nirguna, Nirvishesha, Nirvikara. And the Prakriyas that they had imagined said that the whole pattern of Prakriya explanation doesn't make sense. Now, Sagunaha Purusha iti Vaisheshika Mata Prakriyam. The Vaisheshikas believe that Atma is Saguna, possessed of many gunas: Sukha, Dukkha, Jnana, Prayatna, Ichha, Dvesha. So many gunas Atma possesses. And that Atma is Dravya, is a substance who by nature is unconscious. And of the many gunas or attributes, Jnanam is one of the gunas. That Atma becomes conscious when Atma comes in contact with the mind. When Atma Manas Sanyoga happens, then Atma gains consciousness. And then Atma will be able to know things, otherwise not. So Jnanam also is one of the attributes of Atma. And Sukha, Dukkha, Ichha, all of them are also attributes of Atma. But Jnanam is required to eliminate Sukha, Dukkha, then only Sukha, Dukkha itself can be known. You can be aware of Sukham, Dukkham only when they are eliminated, because otherwise they are all unconscious. And Jnanam is required to eliminate them, then only Sukha can become the object of experience. But Jnanam also is Guna. Therefore, only when Atma comes in contact with, when Atma Manas Yoga happens, then alone Jnana can manifest. The Jnanam or knowledge can illumine Sukha, Dukkha, whatever. But then Sukha, in order to manifest, also requires Atmanas Sanyoga. When Atma comes in contact with mind, then only Sukha, Dukkha, those qualities also will manifest. When Sukha, Dukkha, one of the qualities is manifest, other qualities are not manifest, because each one of them requires a unique kind of Atmanas Sanyoga Each qualities, in order to become manifest, requires a particular kind of sanyoga or contact associated with mind. Therefore, when one kind of sanyoga is there, let us say, when jnana is manifest, sukha will not, because it will require its own kind of sanyoga. And that's what otherwise, if one sanyoga can do everything, everything will come manifest simultaneously. That also is not right. Our experience that sometimes the sukha is there, then dukkha, each one is at a given time. If each quality is sukha, dukkha, prayatna, jnana, ichcha, etc., has to become manifest at a given moment, then that requires a unique kind of atmana sanyoga for that quality to manifest. Only one kind of sanyoga can be at one time, therefore, if a given sanyoga takes place for manifestation of jnana, then sanyoga required for manifestation of sukha, dukkha, etc. will not be there. So jnanam and sukha, dukkha will not coexist. In which case there is no jnana to eliminate sukha, dukkha, and therefore sukha, dukkha cannot become the object of experience. You can't explain the experience of sukha, dukkha. The example was of the light and the heat of the fire. How both are the attributes of fire, therefore both of them coexist. That's called attribute. Then light and heat cannot enjoy the relationship of the subject-object. For light of the fire to illuminate the heat of fire, light should become the illuminator, heat should become illuminated. In which case they have to be in different locations, the subject location and the object location. But since heat and light of fire are both the attributes of, they coexist, therefore they cannot have the relationship of illuminator and illumined. Similarly, jnanam and sukha coexist, therefore they cannot have the relationship of the illuminator, illumined. Eka nidatvat. So, because they are in the same locus. So, like heat and light, jnana and sukha, dukkha also, they have the same locus. Therefore, the experience of sukha cannot be explained. Kanada, Viditatmananda. For the followers of Kanada, the experience of sukha cannot be explained. Yugapat sametatvam sukha vijnanayopi mano yogika hetutvat agrahyatvam sukhasya cha. Na. So the Tikakara said that one na also should be drawn, from the previous verse. Na sukha vijnanayopi yugapat samavetatvam. That there cannot be simultaneous samavetatvam or union of sukha, vijnana with atma. Why? Mano, you already said mano yogaika hetutvat. Because sukha requires mano yoga of one kind. Mano yoga means the union of atma with mind. And vijnana requires a different kind of mano yoga. So yugapat, they cannot simultaneously exist, therefore they cannot enjoy the illuminated relationship. Agrahyatvam sukhas, therefore sukham agrahyam, sukha will not become the object of perception or experience. Api shabdat samvayapi na pramana yuktipadam avatarayati. So, sukha vijnanayo api. That the whole idea of samvaya sambandha itself doesn't make sense. What is samvaya sambandha? Sambandha can be between two separate entities. So they imagine guna and guni is separate. Atma is guni. Sukha is guna. So Atma is separate from Sukha. Like pot and clay. Pot is different, clay is different. So clay is and pot enjoys samvaya sambandha, inseparable sambandha. First of all, you imagine these two as separate entities, then imagine their sambandha. Who can separately know the pot from the clay? Is it possible for you to know pot as a pot without knowledge? You cannot. So how do you say that if they are two different things, this is known two separately, they should be known? Cannot be. Cha shabdat atmanaso niravayoho padeshabhavat. Then Atma is many, Atmas are many, but each Atma is Vibhu, means all pervasive. Meaning that Atmas, they do not have a specific place because they are everywhere. Then how do you distinguish one Atma from other Atma when they are all everywhere? Pradesha bhavat Atmanoho iva Sanyuga anupattihi. So just as they want Atma to be all pervasive and still separate, because each one experiences separate things. Similarly also, same thing will happen with Atma and mind. Atma is everywhere. And therefore, Atmanaso Sanyoga, if Atma, in spite of being everywhere, do not have Sanyoga, according to your theory, then Atma is everywhere, and mind also is there. There will be no Sanyoga because mind also is formless. Atma also is, because mind is atomic, so no form. Atma is all pervasive, so no form. So they also cannot have Sanyoga. How do you explain Sanyoga between two formless things? Otherwise you have to accept Sanyoga between Atmas also. Sanyogeva vibhoho atmana vibhaga anupattihi. If you accept Sanyoga or the union between two formless things, then one Atma cannot be. So you want Sanyoga with Atma and Manaha. Even though both of them are Niravaya. Then Atma and Atma also Niravaya. Then why should not there be also Sanyoga between two Atmas and all Atmas? Tadabhave Sanyogantar anupatto Knyadi karaka anupattihi. And so that Vibhaga, separation of Atmas cannot be there if you accept Sanyoga. If you accept separation, Sanyoga cannot be there. If Sanyoga is not there, then how do you say now is Jnanam, then Sukha, and then how that the sequence take place? Also Karyanam Asamvaya Kanadish Anavatitva Niyama Darshat. Mind is atomic. So that contact of the mind with Atma also will be atomic. You can't explain your experience that you have pain in the whole body simultaneously. And so many incongruities will be there in this thinking. This refutation is a little longer, in more verses. So now we continue the verse number 53. Sukhavat eva dukkha dvesha prayatnanapi agrahyattvam nyaya samyadidyaha. So just as you cannot explain grahyattvam, the perception of Sukha, because Sukha and Jnana cannot coexist, because each one of them requires its own unique kind of Atmana Sanyoga. So only one thing can be at a time, even if you accept that Sanyoga. So how to explain that Sukha, as an example, cannot become the object of our experience, because it requires Jnanam to live in Sukha. Then dukkha, ichcha, dvesha, prayatna, there other gunas are there, so they also can't be experienced. Why is it samyatvat? So, because the condition is similar. Each one of them is a quality. So the next verse is tasanyesham cha bhinnatvat Yugapajjanmaneshyate Gunanam samavetatvam Jnanam chenna visheshanad. तथा च अन्येषां च भिन्नत्वात् युगपत् जन्म नैष्यते. So what applies to Sukha and Jnana, the gunas cannot be simultaneous. Anyesham gunanam भिन्नत्वात् परस्पर विलक्षणत्वात्. Jnana is one guna, Sukha is another guna, Dukkha is yet guna, another guna, Ichha, Dvesha, Prayatna, each one of them is separate guna. Paraspara, otherwise you can't distinguish. If they are all, lumped together, then this is Sukha, Dukkha. The fact that you can identify Sukha as Sukha, Dukkha as Dukkha, Ichha as Ichha, means that each one of them is separate from the other. Paraspara vilakshanatvat Jnana Sukhayoho iva. So this Jnana and Sukha cannot enjoy. They eliminate the relationship. Similarly, and because Jnana and Sukha cannot simultaneously exist, they can't be born. Each one of them requires a unique kind of sanyoga. Therefore, they cannot be simultaneously exist. Therefore, ekasya atmana sanyogasya anekare hetuta sambhavasya. One kind of atmana sanyoga cannot bring about more than one effect. One kind of atmana sanyoga can bring about jnanam. Other kind of atmana sanyoga will bring about sukham. Third kind of atmana sanyoga will bring about dukkham. Because jnanam, sukham, dukkham, each is distinct from the other. Now each one will require a distinct kind of sanyoga. And one sanyoga alone can take place at a time. However, Jnanam and Sukha, Jnanam, Dukkha, etc. cannot take place simultaneously. So you can't explain experience of anything. Just as experience of Sukha cannot be explained, so also experience no other guna can be explained. Tatha anyesham cha bhinnatvad yugavat janma na ishyate. There is a chakara there. Tatha anyesham cha. So without cha also that pratigna is tatha anyesham bhinnatvad yugapat janma na ishyate. Anyesham gunanam, because other gunas are also bhinna or distinct from each other. Therefore, they cannot manifest simultaneously. And therefore, with jnana is not there to eliminate any other guna. So we can't explain any other experience. The chakara there. So it says, chakarat ekashrayo vishaya vishayatva ayoga puro sangrashyate. They cannot be there simultaneously at the same time. They cannot have the relation of vishaya and vishayi, illuminator and illumined, subject object, because they are in different locations. Then same location, therefore they cannot enjoy. So two things are said. First of all, they cannot arise simultaneously because each one requires a unique kind of atmana sanyoga. And second, even if they arise simultaneously, then also they are the same locus, same nest, ek nidatvat, or same locus. So, even if they arise simultaneously, they cannot have the subject-object relationship because subject and object require different locus. So, number one, they cannot manifest simultaneously. Even if they did, still they could not, like heat and light, still they could not enjoy the relationship of subject and object because subject-object require different locuses. So he's fed up. Mahabhut, jnana, bhasyatvam, sukhadinam, all right, So he's back to the wall. So he slowly drops one, ground after the other. Mahabhut, jnana, bhasyatvam, sukhadinam, all right. Sukha, dukkha, etc. are not illuminated by jnanam. Because you can't explain the illumination by jnanam of these things, let it not be there. But experience is still there. So how do you explain the experience? Ekasmin atmani samavetattvaya tesham jnanam namayati. So Vaisheshika says we will define Jnanam in a different way. Jnanam is not subject-object, not eliminate relationship. We will say Jnanam is that all of them enjoy a union with Atma, Samavaya. The inseparatedness from Atma is what all of them enjoy. Let that be the knowledge. Sukha Jnanam is there because experience Sukha. They say that doesn't require Jnanam of the kind you are talking about. Ekasminatmani samavetatvam tesham Jnanam. Each one of them is inseparately united with Atma. Let the inseparable union called Samavaya, let that be the Jnanam, and not any kind of a phenomenon of eliminate, subject, object, that each one of them is inseparably joined with Atma, united with Atma, itself is Jnanam, suppose. You have a different definition of Jnanam. Iti asankya. Jnanena tesham visheshitatvat mayavamiti. The second line says, Gunanam samvetatvam jnanam chet. So that's the Purvapaksha. In second line, Gunanam samvetatvam jnanam chet. So first is the statement by the Siddhanti or Vedanti. Tatha anyesham cha bhinnatvad yugavat janma naishyate. And therefore you cannot explain the experience of Sukha Dukkha as eliminate Jnanam. Let it not be, says, that all of them are equally united with Atma as an inseparable, that itself is called Jnanam. So Purvapakshi Gunana or Vaisheshika Gunana Savetatvam Jnanam Chet. If what you say is Jnanam is Gunanam Savetatvam, that all gunas or qualities are samveta, samavaya samveta, that they are inseparably united with Atma, that is called Jnanam. No. Our answer is even that position also is not tenable. Why? Visheshanat. So what is Visheshanat? Say, iti asankya jnanena tesham visheshitatvat mayavam. See, you cannot say that jnanam is not involved in experience of sukha dukkha. Because when you experience sukha dukkha, there is always that sukham is known to me. See, sukham is always experienced as sukham known to me, dukkham known to me. Visheshitva means sukha dukkha are always qualified as the objects of knowledge. As Vishayatva. Because when there is experience of sukha, how is the experience? Sukham maya jnatam. I have known sukham. I have known dukkham. So sukha dukkha are always accompanied with the state of being known. Object of knowledge, that's how they are always known. So sukha, dukkha are always accompanied by the knowledge. So you can't say that knowledge is not there, that this sukha is some atma, somewhere, that is called knowledge. No. Our experience is that sukha, dukkha and all of things are always accompanied with jnanam. Sukham maya jnatam, dukkham jnatam. So, na visheshitatvat iti vishishta vyavahara darshanat. And so, sukham is always accompanied with jnanam. Experience sukha, dukkha or any guna is accompanied with jnanam. So, you cannot say that jnanam is not required. That is explained further in the next verse. Jnanenaiva visheshatvat Jnanapyatvam smrutesthatha. Sukham jnatam mayetyevam tava jnanatmakatvatah. You must know that this discussion is not meaningless. You must say, I don't care what Vaisheshikas think and what Sankhyas, why should I refute them? In the process of refuting this, we are getting clarity about how knowledge takes place. What is the nature of Atma? What's the nature of qualities? What's the nature of knowledge? So this is all our day-to-day experiences are there. This kind of a deliberation enables us to know how all the experiences take place. Understand life properly. Because that understanding is required to understand Atma. Atma, understanding required, and Jagat and everything else also, you must have clarity about everything. So, we are taking their prakriyas. It may look like this process is refuting them, but in fact we are gaining clarity about how our experiences take place. In that sense, giving us a right understanding of our life and our experience of ourselves. Because according to Vaisheshikas, Nayayikas and everybody, knowledge is a means of moksha. So knowing all these entities is moksha. So if that is your theory, then let us know them properly. The way you think you know does not lead to moksha. But doesn't make sense. So knowing all that, Sankhya 24, this fellow and this fellow, so they say that no knowledge is moksha. All right. So let us understand them properly. We should bring about moksha. And so, either Visheshayati or Vishadayati, what is said in the previous statement, that Jnana Visheshanat, that merely being Samaveta or inseparably related to Atma is not Jnanam, because Jnanam is always involved with every experience Sukha Dukkha. It says Jnanene Visheshyatvat Jnanapyatvam Smrutesthatha. So Jnanene Visheshyatvat. Jnanena eva Visheshyatvat. Jnanapyatvam statement. Jnaneneva Visheshyatvat Jnanapyatvam Sukhadena Ishtavyam Ityartha. Jnana Apyatvam. Apyatvam means attainment. Jnana Apyatvam, they are attained by Jnanam. They are known by Jnanam. They are objects of Jnanam. Jnaneneva Visheshyatvat, because Sukha is not independently known. Sukham, Dukkham, etc. is always accompanied with the knowledge of Sukha Dukkha, Sukham Jnatam Maya, Dukkham Jnatam Maya. Therefore, Jnanam pervades each one of them. Jnanam accompanies each one of them. They are attained by Jnanam, they are illumined by Jnanam, objectified by Jnanam. So Jnana Apyatvam. Sukhadena Ishtavyam. Because we have this experience, Sukham Maya Jnatam, Dukkham Maya Jnatam, happiness is known to me, unhappiness is known to me. Then we would accept that Jnanam accompanies, pervades, illumines, objectifies all of them. That's one thing. So, Jnane Visheshva Jnanapyatvam, comma, that's one sentence. Smrutehe tatha. Sukham Jnatam Mayetvam. So, Smrutehe tatha. No, Smruti is brought here to also make a point. So what is Smruti? The Tikakara says, Jnanahita samskarajanya Shruti Vishettvadavi Jnanapyatvam. So first of all, Sukha Dukkha etc. Vishaya of Jnanam, because they are always accompanied with Jnanam, so they eliminate by Jnanam. Secondly, Sukha Dukkha also are objects of Smriti. Remember past happiness, past unhappiness, etc. Now, when can something become the object of Smriti or memory? Only when it has been experienced. So, memory presupposes experience. Experience means knowledge. So, Smriti also presupposes knowledge. The Smriti takes place means that Sukham, Dukkham, etc. was experienced by me. Only I can remember it. So, Jnana, Ahita, Samskara. Ahita means deposited. So, Jnana, Ahita, Samskara. Every experience that takes place, like Sukha, Dukkha, etc., that leaves an impression. When that impression then becomes evident, then it becomes an object of Smriti. So every samskara is planted by jnanam or experience. So jnana, ahita, samskara, janya, shruti vishayattvadavi, sukhadinam. Sukha dukkha, they are also the objects of smriti. The smriti or memory is a result of the samskaras or impressions that are planted by previous experience, which was jnanam. So experience and knowledge of sukha plants samskaras or impressions in the mind. When those samskaras are aroused, then they become the object of memory. So memory presupposes experience. Experience calls for jnanam. So experience smriti also establishes that jnanam has to be there. Not simply being nature of Atma. That jnana means illumination must be there. So jnanapyatvam sukhade ishtavyamiti tatha smritehe jnanapyatvam. See, jnane visheshyatva jnanapyatvam tatha smritehe api jnanapyatvam. So jnanapyatvam, they are attained by jnanam, illumined by jnanam, pervaded by jnanam, from experience as well as from memory. Then, now you say that kincha jnana vishishta atma sametatvam sukhade jnana mishyate. Alright. You claim that jnana vishishta atma sametatvam, that atma is qualified by jnanam, and sukha dukkha etc. which have relation with that atma. So atma, jnanam is one of the qualities of atma. So jnana vishishta atma, sukha dukkha etc. they become united with atma which is qualified by jnanam. That's how knowledge takes place, suppose. So that's your explanation. All right. So now when you say that atma samavetattvam, union with the atma of sukha dukkha itself is jnanam, then what kind of atma? Is it the atma which is qualified by jnanam and the samavaya of sukha dukkha with that kind of jnanam brings our experience? Or samavaya of sukha dukkha with atma without jnanam? What kind of atma? So atma samavaya. Sukha dukkha must have the samavaya with atma. That's called jnanam. What kind of atma? Simple atma or atma which is qualified with jnanam? Because we said jnanam is there. So still what is your position? You say that simply sukha dukkha therefore because they enjoy an inseparable relation called samvaya with atma, that itself is called as jnanam. Now when you say that samvaya with atma, what kind of atma? Atma qualified by jnanam, samvaya with that is what makes sukha dukkha objects of knowledge, experience, or simply samvaya with atma without jnanam itself. So which is your position? Nadhya, it cannot be. Because again for Atma to be qualified for Jnanam requires one Sanyoga. At that time Sukha Dukkha are not there. Nadhya, Yugapat, Kshanika Atma Vishesh Gunanam, Samvaya Asambhavasya. They cannot Samvaya. Samvaya is Kshanika. Therefore, Kshanika Atma Vishesh Gunanam. Each quality can come to Atma for a moment. Even if we imagine Atma and Guna to be Samveta, to be united, that union lasts for one moment. When that union is with Jnanam, it cannot be Sukha Dukkha, etc. Therefore, Samvaya Asambhavasya Uktatva, we already said that Samvaya or union of two gunas cannot be there simultaneously. Each one requires a unique kind of a sanyoga, which is momentary. So, you cannot have this samvaya of sukha dukkha with Atma qualified by jnanam, because there also requires a samvaya. We already explained. And therefore, you cannot say that the samvaya of sukha dukkha with jnana vishishta Atma brings our experience. That cannot be. Otherwise, if this can happen, then Atmagata Sankhya Parimanadehapi Grahana Prasangat. If without any reason there can be samvaya of Atma and Jnanam, then there are so many things, other gunas are there, such as Sankhya, number, Parimana, the measure. So all these things are also will pop up simultaneously. If you don't need a special reason for them to pop up, then they will all pop up. Iti abhipretya, therefore it cannot be that Atma has samvaya with jnanam, and then again that Atma has samvaya with sukha dukkha. That impossibility we already pointed out earlier. The only way you can say is sukha dukkha samvaya with Atma, unqualified Atma. Dvitiyam dushayati. And so, second line says, Sukham jnatam maya itevam tava ajnanatmakatvatah. Tava means tava mate. Ajnanatmakatvatah. Atma is ajnana or achetana. In your mata, Atma is unconscious. Therefore, because it is dravya, tava mate atmana jnana, therefore, jnana is guna of the Atma, not identified Atma. So Atma is other than jnanam, acetanam, like ghatapata. That is the theory. Atmana jnana bhinnatvat, ghatava dravya matratvat. Some different 9 dravyas are accepted by them, of which Atma is one of the dravyas of 5 elements, and dik, kala, Atma, mana. So, therefore Atma is a dravya, acetanam, like ghata. And therefore, even if Sukha has samvaya with that kind of Atma, then also Atma is acetanam, so it cannot eliminate Sukha. If Atma is a conscious entity, then samvaya with Atma can eliminate Sukha. So one position was that Sukha has samvaya with Jnana Vishishta Atma. But Jnana Vishishta Atma cannot be, at that time Sukha is not there. If Atma and Sukha, then Jnana is not there, then Atma, Achetana Atma can eliminate that Sukha even if there is samvaya there. Na Sukhadi Siddhi Sarvasya Jadatva. Sukham also is Jadam, Atma also is Jadam, the Sambandha also is Jadam, and therefore there is no illumination, no experience of Sukha, etc. So by showing how their whole position is ridiculous, here we are made to think. In the process of dismissing them, therefore, other possibilities are dismissed. Only one position of Vedanta alone is tenable. All the things are not tenable. So therefore we can become very clear. Our mind can come up with various kinds of positions or doubts or possibilities. So taken up one by one and shown they are not congruous, not tenable. Now, Jnana Sukhadinam Atma Gunatva Abhipagamena. So far we accepted your position that Jnanam, Sukha, Dukkha, Atma Gunas, so you said, and accepting that position, we have now argued. So Bhasya Bhasakatva Asambhavokta, then we say that how both all of Jnanam and Sukha being Guna cannot have the Bhasya Bhasaka, because they are in the same locus and they are not simultaneous, so they cannot have Bhasya Bhasaka Sambandha, and so you can't experience the experience Sukha, etc. So it said, then Idanim Tesham Atma Gunatva Durbhanam. You can't say that Sukha Dukkha are Atma Gunas. Accepting that there are Atma Gunas, as according to you, your model, that we accept. Now we say, how can we, we can't even establish that Sukha Dukkha are qualities of Atma, attributes of Atma. Durbhanatvad. So that also means it's again, it's untenable. So next verse is Sukhadeheti. Sukhaderna atmadharmatvam atmanaste vikaratah vedadanyasya kasmanna manaso va visheshatah. And that's how our buddhi has to try to understand also, become subtler and subtler, capable of thinking, capable of subtle examination, because life requires that. Not only this one, every moment also our buddhi has to be sharp to exactly analyze what is happening. Then only you can assess it properly, you can make the right judgment, take the right decision, right action. Then only there can be a life which is based on viveka. So this exercise also helps us cultivate that buddhi which can spot subtle things and subtle differences. That's called viveka. And so then you know exactly what is what in any given situation. You are interacting with the world all the time. Situations are arising all the time. Every situation requires proper assessment, then proper judgment, then proper decision, proper action, proper response, proper way of living. So all this skill, no, Swami, is not for us. Maybe it's not for you, but you want to live life anyway. You live like what shall I say, an unconscious person or a non-discriminating person. That's not the way to live life. We are not consistent. We do one thing right now, something else. That time say this, in this condition say something else. Another condition. Things don't make sense. People don't know what to make out of this person. So if we are consistent, clear, then people can understand us. Then they know how to relate to us. You cannot relate to an inconsistent person because you don't know what exactly is meant by when person says something and means something else. So therefore all of this is required for us to live life and relate to things properly. Then only there can be happiness. Basically, when knowledge is there, happiness is there. So sukhadehe na atmadharmatvam pratigna. Sukhadehe, tikade sukhadehe atmadharmatvam na sambhavati. Sukha dukkha etc. cannot be atmadharma, cannot be dharma, other qualities of atma. Why? Atmana te avikar. So this is a hetu, avikarta. Atmana avikarta te. What is te? Te tava mate. They accept Atma as dravyam, as a substance, but still they call it Nitya. Nitya means Avinashi. Avinashi means it is without any, it's nirvikara, without changes, isn't it? Because anything that changes will perish. Jayate asti vardate viparinamate apakshiyate vinashyati. Nitya means avinashi. There is no vinasha. The other vikaras are not there. So Atma is nirvikara. That's what they say. Te means tavamate atmana avikaratah vikaritva bhavat. So different things they want. So Atma to be nitya also. When you call it nitya, it is avinashi. Avinashi means unborn. Means avikari. That also you want. And you want that sukha dukkha with dharma of Atma also. Then you say Atma is many and Vibhu all pervasive. So Vibhutvangikarana nityatva abhyugamat. And all pervasive thing, not confined to any time and place, therefore is indestructible. So by calling Atma as Vibhu, and they accept all this as nitya anyway. So by calling Atma Vibhu as all pervasive, in a way you accepted the permanence of Atman. And so nitya can be only when it is avikari. Nahi nityam anitya then. This sukha dukkha are all momentary. Sukha arises and subsides. So sukha dukkha all gunas are momentary. Anitya. So here is nitya Atma having anitya gunas, Nahi nityam anitya gunakam iti mam prati drishtanta kopi vidyate. I haven't seen anywhere. Vedantin says, I have not observed anywhere that a permanent entity has impermanent qualities. Where do you find this? For you to have a model, there some example must be there. Kshanikatvam, shunyatvam, all this stuff, So that's just imagination, or have you seen this anywhere? Have you seen a drishtanta? That a permanent entity has impermanent gunas. Nityam anitya gunakamiti mam prati drishtanta kopi vidyate. I do not find drishtanta that a nitya entity has anitya gunas. Ataha na atmana gunavatva siddhi. Therefore, on one hand you want Atma avikari, Vibhu, so nitya. Other hand you want gunas, momentary, arising and subsiding. So how can Atma that is permanent? Anything then if you are want to samaya, then they must be the same quality, then they also must be permanent. How can impermanent thing have samaya with permanent things? Dure grahi grahakatva kalpanayati. So when you cannot even establish Atma possessed of guna, then to establish that Atma is grahaka and guna is grahya, that is even far away. Dure grahya grahakatva kalpana. Guna is grahya, Atma is grahaka, because you have experience of sukha dukkha. So you know that you are experiencer of sukha dukkha. That can't be explained if sukha dukkha are not the attributes of Atma. How do you explain that? Then, kincha, guna gunayanoho atyanta bhedavadinah tava. They said guna guniya atyanta bhinna. For example, this flower is a red color, so red color is different and flower is different. Substance is different and quality is different. The qualities always reside in a substance, by the way. Guna and kriya. The guna means qualities and kriya means action. They cannot remain independent. They always require a locus, which is dravya. So dravya is different and guna is different. Dravya is different, kriya is different. That's why one dravya cannot different kinds of gunas, different kinds of kriyas. So kriya is different, dravya is different. Tomorrow this flower fade away, the color is different. So color has to be different and flower is still there and color is different. Flower is here and now it movement, so kriya also is different. So they accept that kriya and the dravya are different, or guna and dravya are different. Ashraya, ashrita, the location and located are different. So guna gunayanoho Atyanta bhedavadinah tava. You accept atyanta bheda. A distinction between guna and guni. If sukha dukkha are guna, atma is guni, then according to you, sukha dukkha is distinct from atma. Asyava atmana ayam sukhaditi. Then now if sukha is all different from atma. Now see, atmas are many, countless. So then, when I feel happy, oh, you feel happy, asyava atma ayam sukhadi. Since sukha is not connected with atma, when sukha is experienced, how do you say sukha is only for this atma and not that atma? Because each atma is not connected with sukha. And therefore, when sukha experience happens, which atma it belongs to? This vyavastha means order we find that I experience my happiness, you experience your happiness, right? How do you explain that? Happiness is different. So what is my happiness and your happiness? Happiness is distinct from atma. That in the case, there is no my happiness. So when I experience happiness, how do you say it's my happiness and not your? In what way is it different from your happiness? Asyeva atmana ayam sukhadi. This sukha dukkha belongs to this atma only and not that atma. Iti niyama with durga. How do you make that niyama? No, that is our experience, that my happiness is my happiness, your happiness is your happiness. That vyavastha is there. We don't find any kind of confusion there. Isn't it? I am happy, Swamiji. I am unhappy. So when you are happy, I can be unhappy also because I have my own happiness and happiness, you have your own. But happiness is totally distinct from Atma. And Atmas are vibhu, all pervasive everywhere. Then how do you say happiness is which Atma, of which Atma? So, tava mate, asyeva atma ayam sukhadi niyamit durghataha. So this niyama, this rule, that when happiness is experienced, that this experience that says this is my happiness, different from your happiness. Look, you may get happiness from listening to music. I may get happiness from watching a movie. Third fellow may get happiness from running, walking, trekking. So there are different kinds of happiness. How do you say that this is my happiness? I ate, gulab jamu and some happiness from trekking came, something like that. How do you distinguish them? Where is the vyavastha? Niyama vid durghataha. This niyama, this rule also, this vyavastha, the distinctions will not be there. In vyavahara, all boundaries are there. There is no boundary here. So there is a Vedat. And second one, Vedat. Because guna guninoho Vedat. Because guna gunis are totally distinct from each other. Therefore, you can't explain that vyavastha or distinction of one's happiness with another person's happiness. Then second line further, Vedat, comma. Anyasya kasmat na manasah va avishesho anyasya manasah. Anyasya manasa. Anyasya means atma, another atma. Manasa of the mind. Therefore, then if sukha and atma are distinct, then it can be quite likely that sukha is quality of mind also, isn't it? After sukha and atma is no relationship. How do you say sukha is only connected with atma? So anyasya means what? Atmantarasya manasova. That sukha, that experience can be either with any other atma also, because there is no distinction between sukha of one atma and another. Or the sukha experience can be the attribute of mind also. Why should it? Because different from atma. So why should you say that sukha is only connected with atma? It could very well be connected with the mind, because mind is different, sukha is different, they can be connected. Atma and sukha being different can be connected. Then why not one atma and another sukha can be connected? Or mind and sukha which are distinct can be connected? See, Vedanta slowly is bringing it, Sukha could very well be the quality of mind. Why do you say it is only Atma? So, Manasova, Kasmat, Sukhadayo, Gunaha Nasyuhu, Atmantarasya, Sukha, that is experience, can belong to another Atma also, because my Atma and that Atma, this Sukha distinction is the same. Distinction of this Atma with Sukha, same as distinction of that Atma, therefore, the Sukha, the experience is, how do you say it only belongs to this Atma and not other Atma? And similarly, distinction of Sukha and mind also is there, then why not Sukha belong to mind? Avisheshat Sharivachedena Atmani Sukhado Jayante Tatra Sada Sarvatmanam Sattvat. So, Avisheshat, Bheda Vishesh, Bheda Avisheshat. So, Bheda is not different. Bheda of Atma and Sukha, Bheda of this Atma and Sukha, and Bheda of that Atma and Sukha is not different. The distinction of Sukha and Atma is the same. Meaning distinction that this Atma has with Sukha and distinction that that Atma is Sukha. There is no distinction in distinction. These are not different. Therefore, if Sukha is distinct from Atma, then how, whether it is Sukha of this Atma or Sukha of that Atma cannot be established because that Bheda is the same for all Atmas. Bheda Avisheshat Yaksharaartha hai. Avisheshat means Bheda Avisheshat. Because there is no distinction in Bheda. There is no distinction in distinction. Therefore, Sukha can belong to another Atma or Sukha can belong to mind also. So, I am Ashaya. So, this is what is intended here. Sarvatmana Vibhutvangikarat. So they need to have this kind of theory to explain other things. So where you say Atma, there are many, because each one experiences different things, so there must be many. And Atma can't be atomic because then you can't experience, so Atma is all pervasive, then only it can be Nitya and that can be Moksha. So for one thing you have this kind of imagination, then that lends you into other kind of troubles. I am Ashaya. Sarvatmana Vibhutvangikarat. All the Atmas are Vibhu. Yet Sharira Vachedena Atmani Sukhada Jayante. So Sukha Dukkha are all there. So Atma, he confined to this body, experiences happiness. Tatrata Sarvatmanam Sattvam. So this Atma experiences happiness at a given time. Remember that Atmas are all pervasive. So all Atmas are here in this body. If Atmas are all pervasive, which Atma is not there in the body because Atmas are everywhere? So you say that Atma confined to this body experiences happiness, but other Atmas are also there. Therefore, tada sarvatmanam sattvat. Atma confined this body, experience happiness. At that time, at that place, all Atmas are present because Atmas are all pervasive. Tat bheda tat anavagamat. With Atma bheda, because one Atma is identical with other Atma, therefore there is no distinction between, even though there are Atmas are many, there is no distinction between them. If there is no distinction, one Atma the other, and which Atma is experiencing happiness? Because all Atmas are here and there is experience of happiness. So which Atma is experiencing happiness? That also can't be established. Asyava Atma ayam sukhadi dharma na anyasyedi niyantum na shakyate. So you cannot make a rule that this happiness belongs to this Atma only, not other Atma, because all Atmas are present here. No, manas sanyoga. Na manas sanyoga bheda niyamakaha. All right. He said, no, minds are many. Here, the mind is different from the mind that is there and elsewhere. So it is Atma and Manas Sanyoga here that is what brings about that happiness. So Atmas are all similar. But Manas Sanyoga is all distinct. This Atma has Manas Sanyoga with mind that is here in this body. That Atma has Sanyoga with Mana in that body. So Manas Sanyoga Bheda Niyamaka. So which variety of Manas Sanyoga takes place, that distinguishes whether it is this Atma Sukham or Sukham, this Atma or that Atma. This Atma has Manas Sanyoga, different from Manas Sanyoga, that Atma. Therefore, that will make a distinction between the Sukha of this Atma and Sukha of that Atma. Why not? So it says, Manasi api sarvatma samandhas avishesha. But then Atma is everywhere. So Atma is there in all the minds also, along with all the minds. So which a mind and which Atma, as the Sanyoga has taken place, for which Sukha to happen? You can't make a rule at all, because all Atmas are everywhere. And even though mind is only in one body, still since Atma, all Atmas, so all Atmas of Sanyoga the mind. So if given Sanyoga of the mind creates happiness, then also all Atmas are there, and so again you can't make a distinction between the Sukha of this Atma and that Atma. No, it is not, but this adrushta also means karma. So what brings about Sanyoga is karma. Even mind and Atma also become united because of karma, adrushta. You are sleeping at that time, there is no Sanyoga of Atma and mind. Then what wakes you up? When the Sanyoga of Atma mind takes place, what way? Adrushta wakes you up, karma wakes you up. So now they bring another factor. That is adrushta, which brings about the Atma, Sanyoga of mind with given Atma, and thereby given Sukham, thereby Sukham belongs to given Atma. Why not in that way? So now adrushta, your adrushta is different, my adrushta is different adrushta. Napi adrushta vedo niyamaka. You cannot say that variety of adrushtas are there, that bring about a variety of Atmanas Sanyoga, that bring about a variety of experience happiness. But adrushta variety is where did you get it? Tasyadyapi, Atma. We have not yet established that Atma Dharmatma has not been established. When Dharma and Atma looked upon as distinct from each other, we have not yet arrived at this Sukha Dukkha as Dharma of the Atma. Then how do you say adrushta also is Dharma of the Atma? It's not yet, we have arrived at. So you can't take for granted adrushta. That brings about Atmana Sanyoga, that brings about Sukha, etc. But where is adrushta? That it is Atma Dharma is not yet established. No Dharma of Atma is established yet. We took Sukha as an example. So you can take adrushta also as an example. If Sukha is not established Atma Dharma, adrushta also is not yet established Atma Dharma. Therefore, tasya adyapi Atma asiddhe. So far, adrushta also Atma Dharma has not been established. Otherwise, that given adrushta has connected with Atma, brings about specific Manas Sanyoga, that means specific happiness or unhappiness, a specific experience, but adrushta is also different from Atma. Then the Atma Guna is not established. No, but adrushta hetu prayatnadehapi Manas Sanyoga nimittakatvat. Now adrushta what brings out adrushta? Adrushta means karma phala. Prayatna. So prayatna is a karma, that brings about adrushta, that brings out Atmana Sanyoga, that brings out the experience of many of happiness, that brings experience of happiness. It's a long thing, you know. For adrushta hetu prayatna. Prayatna means adrushtasya hetu prayatna. So prayatna or effort, which is the hetu or the cause of adrushta. Tasyapi manasyoga nimittakatvat. But prayatna also is one of the gunas according to you. So that also requires atma manasyoga for prayatna to arise. That brings about adrushta, etc. So prayatna dehapi. So whatever are the various reasons for adrushta, the prayatna is there and various reasons are there to create the karma phala. karma requires prayatna, and whatever it else it requires, so they also require manas sanyoga. So prayatnadehapi manas sanyoga nimittakatvat. Even prayatna also requires the atma manas sanyoga of a kind for prayatna to arise. Then from that adrushta arises, from that other atma manas sanyoga arises, from that sukha experience arises, then you call it sukha of this atma, etc. Tasya cha sarvatmasu vishesh asiddhe. So again, that manas sanyoga, all atmas are present everywhere and ever. All atmas cannot sanyoga with a given mind. Tasya sarvatmasu vishesha asiddhe. That one manas sanyoga is different from other manas sanyoga, you cannot say, because all atmas are everywhere, therefore all atmas are in contact with a given mind. So that this manas sanyoga belongs to this atma, or that atma is not yet established or cannot be distinguished. Adrushtasyapi nasha vishesiddhi. Therefore, adrushta belongs to this atma and not other atma, that also cannot be established. Yatra kutrapi jayamanam sukhadi yasya kasyapi kasmad na syat. Therefore, happiness arising in some place, why should it not be the happiness of anybody else? Because they are all there. Tatha manasa kriyavatvat. And again, mind is accepted as active. Murtatvat. And it is a form, an atom, etc. Sukhadi, desha, avyavicharacha. And therefore, sukhadi, desha, avyavicharacha. They are there, wherever sukhadi is there, in the same desha they are there. Otherwise, contact cannot be. Tasyeva kasmat dharma sukhada. So now, what you are talking about is Atma. That Atma is there where Sukha is there. We say Atma is there where Manas also is, or Sukha is there where Manas also is there. If you are somehow establishing the coexistence of Atma and Sukha by Manas Sanyoga, for Manas Sanyoga, Manas also must be there. So therefore Manas and Sukha also have Sanyoga. So why not Sukha belongs to Manas? You say that Sukha belongs to Atma, which becomes manifest when Atma Manas Sanyoga happens. So how do you say Sukha that becomes manifest belongs to Atma? Why not the mind? What is the reason for you to insist that Sukha manifests from Atma when there is contact with the mind? Sukha could very well also be located in Manas. When that Sukha in Manas becomes evident. Therefore, Manasa Kriyavatvat Murtatvat Sukhadi Desha Avyabhicharat. The mind must be definitely there when Sukha takes place. And mind is atomic. And therefore, Tasyeva kasmat dharmaha. Why not Sukha be the dharma of the mind? Why do you insist that it should be the dharma of the Atma? Therefore, kasmat tasyeva kasmat dharmaha sukhada nasyu vinigaman abhavat. Vinigaman niyamaka. Therefore, there is no niyamaka, there is no yukti to say that Sukha has to be the quality of Atma, whereas there is an equal possibility that Sukha can be the quality of the mind. Because Atma is also there when Sukha arises. Mind also is there when Sukha arises. So how can you insist that Sukha is quality of Atma and not of the mind? See, for example, when you experience an object of pleasure, happiness arises. When you listen to music, looking at nature, enjoying movie, good food, whatever. So you take for granted that Sukha has happened because of movie, because of music, because of that object. But you forget that Atma also is there during all the experiences. So why do you say Sukha arises from movie? Why not it arouse from Atma? Because he is also there. That's what Vedanta says. That Atma is equally present in all experience of Sukha. Other fellows come and go. Atma is consistently there. So why not Sukha be the attribute of quality? The nature of Atma. I am giving a different example. So here also, when Sukha experience happens, Atma is there and mind also is there. So what makes you insist? What is the reason why insist that Sukha is the attribute of Atma and it is not the attribute of mind? What is the niyamaka? What is the? Is a vinigamanaka. Vinigamana bhavat, niyamaka bhavat. There is no niyamaka, there is no definite reasoning for you to insist that Sukha belongs to Atma, whereas it could as well belong to mind because conditions are similar. So this Sukha Dukkha cannot be established even as Atma Gunas. They started that way. So one by one now we are, looking into their assumptions. So we'll continue. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmedi Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyoma Vadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.